August 23rd, 2019, San Francisco. The Sales Development Conference, the third annual conference focused and dedicated 100% to sales development. Join over 500 of the most influential sales development leaders in our industry for a full day of learning, networking, and growing your skills. This year, we're offering 3 learning tracks focused on sales development leadership, rep training, and our newest track dedicated to sales and marketing operations. Grab your tickets today before it sells out over at tenbound.com/conference. That's tenbound.com/conference. See you August 23rd.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Development Podcast. I am honored and blessed to have my next guest on the show, Ms. Lakesha Magee, Manager of Business Development at Malwarebytes. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Oh, great. And I know you're running up against the end of your quarter, you said. So we got to keep this short and to the point so you can go get back after it, right?
Okay. Yep, definitely.
Well, thank you for joining us. I just have a little backstory. So I caught your name on LinkedIn. Either you or someone on your team posted that you guys were just crushing it. I mean, the little needle of the dashboard was all the way to the right. You were definitely in the green. You're ready to party, and you still had a lot of quarter left. So I was like, okay, I need to get her on the show. So thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, I looked at your background. There's a couple of things I mentioned before the show. I want to talk about how you came to the sales development, business development as your career as the manager, and also the cybersecurity business. I know just from my own experience, it's a very tough business. It's very competitive. You're crushing it. How are you doing it? So those are the 2 things I want to start with. If folks aren't aware of you, tell us about your background and how you got into sales development.
Oh, yeah. So correct. So I've actually came to this, I call it the organization 14 years ago. And I started off as an individual contributor myself. And so my career started off my younger years back in managing retail. I mean, I found that I didn't like it. But what I did like about my job is I was able to call a bunch of different salons, and I was able to, sell more products by just making phone calls. And so I wanted to just, get into that business of a role. I was on the phones doing what I love to do. Started back in my younger years, my first role as a telemarketer, and then to become permanent with the company. They had said, if you can get 50 meetings, you can become permanent with the company. Most BDRs took about 6 months. I took a month and a half, and I decided this is where I want to be. This is what I love to do, like talking to people, getting people on the phone. So I stuck with it, carried out, throughout my career. And just about 3 years ago, that's when I first got my hands on, leading teams, becoming successful, and decided, this is my career. I wanted to remain in the business development world. So I just decided to, manage and duplicate my process just to, have a, successful group of BDRs and SDRs, the title changes. But definitely, then I joined here at Malwarebytes this August. This is my, second quarter, my first real quarter here, but I started with 7 BDRs, I had to just bring in a process. There was no process here. I was able to bring in a process, bring in new BDRs, get them all through, the new process, ramped up training. And definitely I can say today that 90% of my team has hit their quota for the quarter. So we definitely had them ramped up. I even had 2 that, has been promoted onto other roles within the company, but definitely has been successful just creating a process that works, for the team.
Yeah, definitely. So this is really interesting because not a lot of folks get into, sales development, business development, and find out, hey, I really like this and I want to keep going with it. It's kind of like almost, let me just get this over with to my next step in my career. But that's really interesting. So you bring sort of a passion to it.
Yes,
and
definitely.
then and then you also mentioned your process. So tell us about what is your process for setting this up, and then how did you replicate that for your team?
Yes, so definitely just understanding, how many times, a prospect needs to be touched before letting it go, knowing the right, times when to call. I noticed here, there was a big issue with time management, where you'll have, the BDRs just calling at random times, but just understanding your territories, understanding when you should be, trying to, reach these prospects and, utilize the tools that we have, things like Sales Loft that just help you understand, when is the best time to get these people, especially, with security. When are the best times to reach out to these people? When are the best times you're having these conversations? And just, once you understand that, you can just, be persistent and stay consistent, and when a prospect says, call me back in 3 months, don't treat it as, oh, that's just an objection. Oh, call them back in 3 months. And this time when you call them back, understand, their needs, their pains, and then just go for the meeting. So once, we've, understood that, how many times it takes to, get the prospect on the phone. And then once they get them on the phone, they're definitely just going for the meeting and not letting them off the hook that second time.
Got it. Okay. And so how do you sort of capture your process? Do you write it down in a playbook? Is it pretty much in your head? Like, how do you capture it, and then how do you disseminate it across the team so that they can replicate what you were doing?
Yeah, so I wrote a playbook here, just a clearly defined process. I mean, I even, went back explaining our role, the purpose of our role, that, for the company and how we can benefit the company. And then once I defined our role, definitely just, incorporated our process we have here because we have so many leads. So we have an 8-touch process that each BDR, you must touch each prospect at least 8 times before you reject it out or put it back in the nurturing campaign. So just I have that into my playbook, distribute that out to the team. And then I follow up and I hold them accountable during their biweekly one-on-ones I have with them just to understand that they're following the process. And I also document that, using our CRM just to understand that they're touching each prospect. Then I have a little report, called my number of touches report, and just making sure that everybody's aligned with our goals.
Yeah, I think that's something that managers can struggle with because you have an expectation, but then how do you follow up with the team to make sure that they're actually following the process?
Yep.
And it sounds like, so you've set up reports where you can actually monitor that and keep track.
Correct. And I'll, each Friday, if I definitely see too many leads that's only been touched a few times, definitely just send a reminder. It's like, hey, just want to remind you here. And then once you send that out, you'll be like, then you see more meetings popping on the dashboard just to, making sure that process is being followed.
Okay. And now, so I know, from my past experience, cybersecurity is really, really tough because it seems like they're not as receptive to, phone calls and emails and stuff like that. Now, you mentioned you do get some inbound leads. So, and you have a process for the inbound leads. Do you do any outbound to the cybersecurity space?
Yeah, so we do. So most of when I say inbound, our leads, majority of those leads are pretty much, maybe somebody has raised their hand, opened an email, may have clicked on a link in an email. So it's pretty much kind of cold. But to just understand, the type of persona that clicked on an email, you definitely want to customize your message, towards that persona, because each, persona is different. We want to have a different conversation and care about, just different needs. Where more topics are more important. So just understanding, the different personas that you're reaching out to and how to utilize, that information.
Got it. Okay. So you'll bring in that persona. So is it more of a number of touches? Like, are you looking at the activity, or is it more important to spend that time personalizing each message? How do you kind of balance the activity versus personalization in that process?
Perfect. Yes. So definitely. So, I have, within our process, we have our callers, for 8 hours a day, and definitely, I don't expect them to be, dialing for 8 hours. Maybe, we have our call minimum of 60 calls, which works for our teams with the number of leads that we receive. So 60 calls per day. And I just have them definitely, managing their territory. So, that the last hour that they're able to basically, set up their cadences for the next work day. And they use that hour to personalize messages for each campaign. If a special email just went out, we definitely want to have the follow-up email as a personalized message, that's in in line with, the previous message, just so that we can kind of build down a funnel and not just sending random messages and random emails to prospects. And when you can kind of personalize the message for the prospect, then you get more results.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so it sounds like you're very much in sync with then the demand generation and the marketing campaign.
Yes, correct.
Do you actually report to the marketing team or do you report to sales?
So I report to the marketing team.
Gotcha. Okay, so how does that work? Like, do you have a sync up meeting with them? How do you keep track of what they're working on and then how your team, interacts with them?
Yeah, so definitely. So I work really close with our demand team. I'm even taking part where I'm helping, reviewing, emails, the nurturing emails that go out, even, editing some. I really have my hands on. I'm a hands-on manager, so anything that goes out, that's on behalf of my team. I definitely like to be hands-on and, have, control where I can edit some emails and kind of make changes where necessary. So I'm definitely hands-on and work really close with our demand team.
Are you in sales, but you're not using a sales engagement tool? Then you're probably losing out on revenue because you are not engaging with prospects at the right time, with the right cadence, and with enough persistency. You need VanillaSoft. Start your free trial today. Go to vanillasoft.com.
Wow. Okay. That's really interesting because even recently a new report came out that we actually worked on with InsideSales.com that said the tendency for most SDR teams is to report to sales. I think it's upwards of like 70%. Mm-hmm. But I've always thought that it made a lot more sense to report to marketing since the synchronization is so important, between what they're doing and how your team, and you're even saying like, you're going even further up the funnel than saying, let me help you guys with the templates and stuff like that. It sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So definitely. So if I see if something is working and I'm always getting feedback from the team of what's working or I'm, utilizing the cadences and I like to use, the reports a lot to find out, how many emails were open and definitely what subject is or what title worked. And I utilize that and I'll, help, working along with marketing just to get those titles or what subjects is working or getting the most click throughs and whatever works. I like to say, hey, if it's not broken, you don't need to fix it, so,
right.
Yeah. So like definitely like to just, improve, but not just totally change.
Yeah. And, the argument on the other side is, hey, this is, I think, why most sales development teams report to sales because the sales team is like, hey, you're hiring what could potentially be the next generation of salespeople at the company, and do we really want the marketers to hire this next generation of salespeople? But I mean, my counter argument to that is like, well, why don't you just have a hand in the hiring process of SDRs? Like have a salesperson or a sales manager interview them as part of the process to see if you could see them moving up in a couple of years. But it's interesting because, like you said, I mean, you're so involved. You're seeing what's working, what's not. You're helping to look at the metrics and do an analysis to help your team and look at how successful you're being.
Correct.
It's amazing. Okay. So I want to get back to security. Okay. These people they seem impenetrable to sales development. Like I just picture security people, no offense if anyone's listening. I don't think they are, but they're in a little box, in the back of the office with a bunch of blinking lights and a little computer, and they don't seem to answer their phone. They don't answer their email. They're security people. They want to keep you away. How do you get in front of them? And what is your secret sauce to penetrate this market?
Yeah, so definitely it's just about, just being persistent. I'll say, I had one of my BDRs knew, she was, calling and calling and calling, but, wasn't getting, many results, so I say, hey, in this market, they're not really, they're not really, prone to pick up their phone, most of the time, but they'll check an email. So if you call them, once you call, say, hey, just left you a voice message, send a quick little message with that same little message in the title, just left you a voice message. And just by, making that one little tweak, she definitely just overachieved. And now, she's at, 150% of her personal number and she's on ramp up, so it's just making those, changes, being persistent. We know we have a solution that works and that'll definitely, fit their need. So once you're a believer in your solution and you're persistent, you can definitely get them on the phone.
I completely agree. So that's so interesting because it seems like, a lot of SDRs, BDRs, they're right out of college. They're not really sure what they want to do. They're like, hey, I'll give this a try. And something I always try to tell people is like, even if the product that you're selling or the industry is not like what you always dreamed of being involved with your whole life, like try to get into it more, because the more that, like you said, the more that you believe in what you're doing, the more, passion you can bring and more energy to the conversation, it seems.
Correct.
Yep. And then the other thing that you mentioned is knowing the personas. So tell me more about that. How do you get them to understand like who they're calling on when they're newer to the industry? Maybe they've never been in security before. How do you get them to understand this audience that you're calling on?
Yeah, so definitely. So what we do, we do here a lot is practice elevator pitches by persona. So we're definitely, practicing by the different titles, whether it's a C-level director or manager or just a help desk. We're always just understanding, their roles, their day-to-day roles, and we break it up, by the persona. So we definitely do our elevator pitches by the personas and understanding their titles. I mean, we definitely work with our enablement team a lot just to understand, what they do and what they care about. And then we just incorporate that into our elevator pitches.
Nice. Okay. And then does your team ever work on events at all, like go to different events, or do they mostly follow up after the events, to follow up on the leads?
Oh, no. So our team is, my team is definitely, hands-on with the events. We have a few events that we attend most of the time when there's a shortage, then we have like RSA coming up. So majority of my team will be attending RSA. So, and definitely, I feel when we can get our team, just in front of the prospects, live, it definitely helps them and helps them, be more comfortable on the phones.
Yep, definitely. I mean, so the themes that I'm hearing, folks, is think about reporting to marketing, because that helps a lot with synchronization of what they're doing. You're going to get more meetings. You're going to have a better message. You're going to be more in sync. Focus on the personas and getting to know them through those elevator pitches. Focus on the product and how it can help customers, really get behind that. And then also, go to those events, that's live training, it seems, right? Because they're
Correct.
Right there. They have to know their stuff, or else they're not going to be able to set any meetings at the events.
Correct. I totally agree with you.
Awesome. Okay. So what's next? Like, you've been growing the team. You've got, some great success. What's next on the horizon for you? Any challenges that you want to tackle? Any new programs coming up that you're excited about?
Yeah, so we're definitely, very excited. So this quarter, I mean, since we're, just, kicking butt here at 138%, we've been challenged to hit 150% this quarter. And we definitely have, a big incentive, driven for the team. Like I said, so today we're 138%. Have a few days left, definitely going to blow that number. Just worked on my numbers for next quarter. And, it's a challenge. Definitely, have about a 25% increase, so it's definitely going to be a very, very challenging quarter, but just looking forward to just crushing that number,
That's
and
really
definitely just
interesting.
scaling the team.
Okay. So goal setting, let's talk about that real quick. So how do you set up your goals? Because it seems like a lot of times the SDR managers out there are just handed the goal by someone, and they're just like, hey, we know that we need 100 meetings a month, so go do it, but it sounds like, are you involved in making the goals, and what's your role in making sure that you can actually hit those?
Perfect. Yeah. So I actually, work, really close with my manager, who's, the senior director of marketing here, and working along with him to what makes sense. And so the benefits on my team, about 60% of my team was on ramp this quarter. So definitely just giving them their full number this quarter. So I have the, a fully ramped team now and just executing that team number. And, we take the number, that the pipe that marketing needs to hit, and then we kind of divide that to, the pipeline, that was matched up with how many ops it takes to exceed this, dollar amount. We take that and just, divvy it up to the team, to our team number. So we're at a place where we don't have to, keep increasing the actual individual BDR's number, but we can just have that fully ramped team number, which, satisfies our goals.
Gotcha. And then you can kind of calculate in the ramp time and how long people have been around. And, it sounds like everyone's doing really, really well, but how do you think about attrition or if people get promoted and things like that? Like, is that a part of your process of planning?
Yeah, so it's definitely, a part of, the process, and we're definitely, utilizing that. And we do have that, that gap. And then that's why just still once, the goals are, submitted, I'm always just motivating the team, to hit their accelerators. So that kind of covers the gaps. Even, this quarter, I had a bunch of BDRs on ramp and we had our number, but just, motivating the team to, overachieve and hit that accelerator. And once they're in that, just, hey, once you start accelerating, you just make money. let's make money together.
There you go. And that covers the rough spots, in case somebody has to leave or,
Correct.
They get promoted and stuff like that. I mean, if everyone's overperforming, then it kind of helps smooth out the rough spots. It's really, really interesting. So, well, it sounds like, it's all systems go right now. Any big events coming up or anything, that you're excited about here in the next few months after you get through this awesome quarter?
Yeah, so definitely just, RSA coming up, which is pretty, big for, cybersecurity. So definitely looking to just, get so many leads, I have a bunch of, new BDRs, that I'm putting out in front of the prospects, expecting them just to, talk to lots of, different personas and just bring, new opportunities and actually training them to book the meeting on the spot, set the expectation that you're going to call them and, and get some time on their calendar while you're there.
Yes, I love that. I mean, RSA is crazy. RSA is like, I remember it was something crazy like there's 600, vendors on the floor. And it's like, I can't imagine being a participant in RSA. I mean, it must be so confusing to try to figure out like, what do I actually need, as far as my tool for this, if there's 600 different people like talking to me about how great their product is. So it's a huge opportunity, but it seems like it's tough to stand out in that crowd.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, this was so awesome. Thank you so much. I think everyone learned a lot, and we really appreciate you coming on the show, and just best of luck. And I hope that we can meet you someday in the future real soon.
Oh, yeah, perfectly. I'm sure you will.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum 100% focused and dedicated to sales development, with your host, David Delaney. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. Your support makes our show possible. If you are struggling with your sales development program, contact us at tenbound.com for a no-obligation exploratory call. Again, that's tenbound.com.